Welcome to Betting Weekly Premier League Show. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel, Seeley and Jack Wright. 10 games in the book for the 24-25 EPL season. And, fellas, statistical evidence suggests that there won't be too much change from here on in. Since the first 20-team Premier League season in 95-96, almost 40% of the teams have moved by just one place, all stayed in the same position when comparing match week 10 to the final standings come May. So, Nigel, should we be betting Liverpool to win the league at plus 175 or Forest to be in the top four come May at 120 to 1? How are you?
I see you haven't had very much to do this week. Sitting around doing that old rubbish. I've got no idea what you're talking about, really, to be fair. Like, it sounded good, but really, to be fair, you must have had a right easy week to sit around doing all that stuff. No, I'd bet neither of them. No, I wouldn't bet any. I'm not convinced by Liverpool as yet. I mean, they're doing things really, really well. You could look at them and think, well, they haven't even hit top gear yet, and they're going to be better. Or you could look at them and think they've been very fortunate to be where they are. Nottingham Forest again. When the transfer window comes about and they get some injuries and they get going deep into the latter stage of the season, I think they'll go back to the norm. The other thing about Liverpool, I think it's very, very important to have a manager that's seen it and done it and won it in the Premier League. I think it's coming down that stretch. The manager is just as important as the players on the pitch. So, I wouldn't bet any of them. But hopefully next week you're a bit busy because you just pulled the pants off me for the last 20 seconds.
Jack, which teams do you think might do a Spurs and maybe drop off dramatically? Remember, after 10 games last season, Spurs with 8 wins and 2 draws, they were top and going well. Which teams might regress? Which teams do you think are undervalued from a betting point of view?
Well, yeah, it's obvious what to say. You've got to go Forest, don't you? From that, at the moment, I think the others are there or thereabouts. Or are Forest going to go and do a Leicester from a few years ago? The title race, is it wide open? And are they going to be able to keep on going? We're waiting for them to falter, but we'll have to wait and see. But no, you'd assume that they're going to fall down. There's some decent odds for them still to finish top 10, I noticed. But as far as the sides off the pace, everyone's obviously going to be looking at Amarim at United. Is he going to be able to hit the ground running? Is he going to be that magic touch that they've been waiting for? Quite interesting with Solskjaer when he came in mid-season, he won 14 of his 19. So if they do anything like that, happy days. If he's more Ralph Rangnick, they're in trouble.
Just one thing before we leave Forest. I mean, look at Bet Rivers got some prices to win the FA Cup. Nottingham Forest to win the FA Cup, where Bet Rivers are currently 50 to 1. Crystal Palace to win the FA Cup 33 to 1. Brighton to win the FA Cup 25 to 1. Southampton to win the FA Cup 50 to 1. Well, Nottingham Forest, the way they're going, I think that at 50 to 1, that would be the way I'll be looking at playing Nottingham Forest in the next few months or so.
Let us know in the comments, which team do you think will have a bit of an upswing? Which team are you fading over the next few weeks and months? And tag us in with your plays at Because We Win is our X handle, of course. And Nigel, the Betting Weekly newsletter is here. It's off to a flyer, I think. I've been told.
Yeah, it arrived by carrier pigeon. It come across. We thought we'd get it here for the election, but the guys at Bet Rivers didn't tell me what year of the election. But we managed to get it there just in time. Started off with a winner. Steve gave a winner. James Easton's got a pick, which will, when this be recorded, it will be on the Europa League, which will be gone by the time this is out. You never know. You might get a catch it. And I've got one on the Australian Open tennis, always looking for the value further afield. So there's stuff. The boys on the channel, I think Jack will be up this week and some other guys will be on this week, giving their picks as well. So it's good. You can get the content, get the newsletter by subscribing on the website, bettingweeklystudios.com. All you have to do is put your email address and we'll add you on there. But it's stuff that isn't on these shows. So it's exclusive content. So it's well worth getting involved in.
Going to kick off with some 2-unit plays for you. Saturday, 10 a.m. Wolves versus Southampton is where we go to first of all. Wolves minus 104. Saints are plus 265 here. The draw plus 270. Nigel, Gary O'Neill plus 250 to be the next manager to leave his position in the top flight in England. If your 2-unit play doesn't cash here, he could be gone, Nigel.
Yeah, and so could I. The season I've had so far, it's a race between Seeley and Gary O'Neill. Which one goes first? And there's a lot of shrewd money for Seeley. I must admit, Gary O'Neill's very popular with the bettors to keep his job. I'm under pressure as well. You know what I mean? I'm feeling it. But anyway, I've been in the news conference, spoke to the Bet Rivers bosses and said, we just take one game at a time. Have
they given you the seal of approval, Nigel?
Yeah. But, wherever I rock up, I'm sure you'll come with me, Dan. You've been following me for 20 years in my career. I'm sure we'll rock up together somewhere.
Yeah, well, I like profitable plays. Anyway, go on.
Well, but one thing we haven't touched on is we had a bad week last week. We can't just gloss away from the fact we had a bad week last week. It was a terrible week last week, and one of the bets I had was the Wolves match to beat Crystal Palace. Went with Wolves and the draw. No bet for my 2-unit play. We got a push on it, but I felt that I felt we were a bit lucky with the Wolves match. I think we felt I was very unlucky on the Brentford hot dog as well. So it was a bit unlucky, and there was a bit of luck that rides away here. But I'm sticking with Wolves. I'm sticking with this theme on Wolves. I'm convinced that they're gonna turn it on, because what I see from them in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think they're a side improving. I think they've got a quality player in Kuna. I think he's absolutely exceptional. Larson looks like a guy who's going to score goals in the Premier League. He scored last week. He's going to be a handful against teams from set pieces. He's a big unit, and he's going to prove a problem. Gomez is getting better and better each week, what I've seen from Wolves as well. And they've got a little bit of belief about them. They've been so unlucky in the last 3 matches. And I mean, the match against Manchester City, how they never got a point in that one, as we said before, the 2-2 draw against Brighton, and that 2-2 against Crystal Palace, where they were 2-1 up heading into the last 20 minutes of the game. And they're playing a Southampton side that, again, I opposed them last week against Everton. And we talk about luck in this game. I mean, how I lost that draw no bet market, I cannot believe. I mean, Everton hit the bar one end, should have scored, went down the other end. And within 40 seconds of hitting the bar, and Southampton scored the winner. You saw the scenes when Southampton scored that goal. It was like they qualified for the Champions League or something like that. It was just their first win of the season. They're still in the relegation zone. They only created 0.54 XG in that win, compared to Everton, who were 1.79. So that shows you how lucky they were. They can't keep riding their luck in that kind of matches. I just think that Wolves have got goals in them as well. They scored 9 in the last 9 matches. Wolves have scored in every single match. And I think here, this comes down to the extra goal threat I think Wolves have compared to Southampton. I don't think Southampton have got much of a goal threat. And on the road, Southampton have played 5 and lost 5 in the Premier League. So I'm going to go for Wolves here. I think it's -104. I think it was the last I saw. I think around about even money. Wolves, they've got to get a win. I think they're a better side than Southampton. I think they're a better proposition going forward. I did say last week that Wolves need at least 4 points, and Gary O'Neill needs at least 4 points from those 2 matches at home to Crystal Palace and over at Southampton. He's got 1 point in the bag. I think he'll get the 3 here. I think the goalkeeper was at fault as well for the first goal. He came out flapping on crosses, and the goal went in. There was defensive error there. Defensive error as well. No one picking up Gale on the far post for their second goal as well. That's been their problem. They've got goals in them, and I don't think Southampton will offer much of an attacking threat here. So Sam Johnson could be back as well, the goalkeeper that he's Gary O'Neill has gone to rather than Sarr. And I think that would be an uptake really on Sarr's performance. He looks a guy shot to confidence here. And I just think Wolves here will get the win. So I'm going to go for Wolves. Gary O'Neill gets another week. Seeley gets another week, and we ride on into the year. So I'm going to go for Wolves here at -104 as my 2-unit play.
Brilliant. How many points do you need, Nigel?
Oh, mate, I need a lot. I need a lot.
Jack, you've got a similar theme just for your lean, haven't you, on this one?
I've got the same theme, let alone similar. Yeah, I've gone for Wolves on the money line there. I think they've got it in them to go and get a result here. I've been fading Southampton most of the season, fading them pre-season. Nothing's changed on that. Fortunate win last week. They can't score goals, really. They've got. I mentioned Armstrong at the start of the season. They ditched him because it wasn't working out for him. He's not good enough at Premier League level. They've gone back to him. Yes, he scored last week, but unless he can suddenly sort of fluke a bit of a run, expect those goals to dry up again. And yeah, for all the reasons Nigel said there, that was the reasons for me on the money line. A couple of things just to look out for. Southampton are atrocious at defending set pieces. So have a look. Larson, that Nigel's already mentioned, but also our good friend Dawson coming up from the back might be worth a little look for those looking for like long odds as far as a bit of a shot on target goal scorer kind of rules concerned. And Harwood Bellis at the other end for Southampton. He's can't defend, but he seems to be getting on the end of their attacking stuff. But yeah, money line was my lean.
Brentford versus Bournemouth is Jack's 2-unit play. Another Saturday 10 a.m. kickoff here. Bournemouth flying after the City win. And we're not looking for them to necessarily win at Brentford here, Jack, for your 2-unit play.
No, I enjoyed that Brentford game so much on Monday. I've gone in again here and gone for 2 units rather than the 1 unit. That was such... No, it wasn't really. It was really frustrating. And I thought we were both going to land right in the middle of it in the end. And at least I got a fortunate push. So, Yeah, I've gone with goals here. Over 3 goal line, minus 107. I just feel this looks like a really open and entertaining game. Thomas Frank, a lot was mentioned. I think he was trying to do a bit of rope-a-dope, trying to kid on a little bit on Monday when he was talking about not settling for 1-0 wins, and he was happy with entertaining football away from home. They sat deep, didn't they? They tried to soak it up, and it just looked like it was kind of they were going to get away with it, but it was going to be more by luck than judgment, to be fair, how many chances they allowed. But at home, different animal, really, really strong home side, score lots of goals. And Bomo, who was anonymous on Monday, you'd expect him to come to the fore. He's been assisting and scoring goals galore at home. He's got his partner in crime back in Vissa. So he is a double act really to reckon with. And I think they'll get plenty of chances against Bournemouth and vice versa. I think Bournemouth, with the likes of Semenyo, who we talked about all season as well, can go there and attack Brentford. And I think it will allow both sides to play to their strengths to a certain degree. And also Evan Nielsen up front for Bournemouth. It's good for him to get a couple of goals as well since his big money move. So both sides have got attackers in good form, which will open it up. And we all know the key element I like as far as going on a goals over goals bet is that if you get an early goal, it opens up the style of play, it opens up the match, and it then breeds more goals. And we know Brentford are absolutely the kings of the early goal. And so I think that, again, there will be an early goal in this one, which will open it right up for 2 very attacking front foot sides. This ended 2-2 last season, so I'll take exactly the same thing again. And that would obviously cash the over 3 goal line, which is at minus 107.
And that's Jack's 2-unit play. Nigel, even money Bournemouth top 10. Fancy that?
No, not really. I think I agree, Jack here. Over 3 goals. I don't want to agree. We don't want to agree with everything, but I agree with him here. I mean, 26 goals has been in the last 5 Brentford home matches. Over 3 has cashed in all of them. Both teams to score, yes. Just the entertaining place to go for goals. And then you've got 2 sides who like to play football in the right way. Bournemouth's last 3 matches: Arsenal, Aston Villa, Man City in 7 points. It's a staggering return from that. But the market's caught up with them a little bit, and I think Brentford probably offer some value at home here on the money line rather than Bournemouth on the way, because I think they were very fortunate against Arsenal, and they played well against Man City, but we all know Man City have got problems at the moment. They're very fortunate against Aston Villa as well. So the luck has been on their side. If you look at over 3 goals, it's minus 107, which I think is good value, as both Jack and I have alluded to. But when you compare it to both teams to score, which when you think that both teams to score, you've got a chance on over 3 goals. Both teams to score is minus 215. So when you think about the difference between minus 215 and minus 107, you can see why we're both coming from this kind of angle here. Bournemouth have a poor record against Brentford. I think it's about 20 years since they won here in this match. So it's a very, very difficult match for them historically. The other thing about Brentford is, well, we know they start fast, and it's a bet that I've taken before. Brentford at half-time to lead at half-time is plus 180 here, which I think may be a little bit of a bet as well if you're looking for an outsider. But I'm going to go for over 3 goals, minus 107. Those are goals, 26 goals, like I say, 5 home matches, brilliant at home, 4 wins, 1 draw, no defeats for Brentford. It's on the road where they have their problems, and Bournemouth are a much better side at home, and on the road they have their problems. So it points to a home win here, but goals for sure.
Let's get some quick fire leans on another couple of 10 a.m. Saturday games. Nigel, Palace, Fulham, first of all. Palace just about favourites here for this London derby.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised at their favourites, actually. I mean, they are showing signs of improvement. They're unbeaten in 3. Fulham were absolutely excellent against Brentford. I joke about the fact that I was felt hard done by. Well, I should have been 3-0, 4-0 down going into the 90th minute. I was unlucky. But Palace, not many goals at home. That's their big problem. They don't score many goals at home. We know that Fulham are a very entertaining side, and they're very good on the road. They've only lost twice this season to both Manchester clubs on the road this season. They have some injuries here. Crystal Palace, Wharton is out, Eze is out, and Hughes, who come in midweek, is suspended. He's got 5 yellow cards. So team news will be important for Crystal Palace. With that team news in mind, and what I saw from Fulham at the weekend, my lean would be Fulham on the draw no bet market at even money with the draw or push. I think Fulham deserve to be favourites here, and I think the market has reacted to Crystal Palace's recent form of 3 unbeaten, but they're a poor side who don't score many goals.
Jack?
Yeah, I've gone with a tie in this one. I couldn't really split them. There's enough doubts about both sides for me that I went with tie. I can't work out goals or not goals. I think Eze obviously missing for Palace is huge as far as creativity and scoring is concerned, although they got a couple last week. And for Fulham, very, very pretty, weren't they, on Monday against Brentford, but just seemed to lack that cutting edge, that final element, sticking the ball in the back of the net. A lot of shots from range, a lot of shots that were just kind of straight at the keeper. So I think they struggle with that, be it Jimenez, be it Munez. So I just find that they probably will create a lot of chances in this one. And I think that Palace home form is probably what's kept them as far as the odds are concerned, which is kind of in minds of the traders. But 4 of the last 5 between these two have ended all square. So I'm going with another one, much the same, a tie, which is at plus 245 for my lean.
Let's get a quick pick on the West Ham Everton game as well here. West Ham are favourites here. Lopetegui under pressure. Jack, what you got for us?
Yeah, I think he's the favourite in the market for next to go, and a defeat here, and it could well be. It's that time of year, isn't it? Well, the international break. We know it's not worked out for him at all, has he, at West Ham? Faded him last week as far as the goal side of things are concerned, and it's they just aren't clicking at all under him. It was a weird appointment in a way that this reminds me a little bit of Areola at Bournemouth last season, where they just couldn't get going. But you could see there was a complete change of style and change of plan that would take a bit of time setting in. It's more of the same for West Ham, and it's just not worked for them at all. They're not clicking up front. Obviously, Fulkrug being out with an injury from a big signing is impacted them. Antonio, we know, he's not a prolific goal scorer. Bowen struggled a little bit this season. They're missing Kudos on the left as well. Somerville started now, and it's got to take a bit of time to adapt to playing at the higher level. So Everton, we know what we get with them. Really solid. They don't tend to score many. They don't tend to concede many. And I can see how this one's going. And I'd imagine, for me, this is a 1-0 either way, or possibly even a 0-0, 1-1. So I've gone under. I was surprised to see it at plus money. Under 2.5 goals at plus 102. And I think a few doubts about the playing staff here. And a bit of nerves in the London Stadium as well, I'm sure. So I think this looks like a very tight and cagey one for me.
David Moyes' derby. David Moyes could be back at either club pretty soon. Nigel, what have you got?
I agree with Jack again here. West Ham were absolutely awful against Nottingham Forest, terrible. But they've won the last 2 at the London Stadium. I know they were brilliant Ipswich were poor in the 4-1 win. They're extremely lucky against Manchester United to get the win, a last-minute penalty, but they should have been 3-0 down at half-time. Everton have only lost 1 in their last 7, which was when I bet them last week, which shows the kiss of death. I've given them the kiss of death there. But they were dominant in that match, as I said earlier in the preview of the Southampton match. 6 of the last 7 matches involving Everton have seen under 2.5 goals. You know what Dyche is all about. He's going to defend. He's going to be ugly. And if West Ham don't break them down inside the first half, the London Stadium will turn. And I think that will help Everton here. So I would be leaning towards Everton to get something, maybe Everton on a double chance. I'm looking to oppose West Ham, but I think the best way to do it is under 2.5 goals to come, because remember, the goals go down in November. And that is plus 102.
Lopetegui plus 175 to be the next manager to go. It could be this weekend. Big game on the South Coast, Brighton versus Manchester City, 12:30 Eastern. Brighton a plus 340, City a minus 132. City have lost their last 3. Last time they lost 4 on the spin was a good long while ago. I think it was 2006. I lost the will trying to go back to all the.
You were too busy doing the other stats. You're too busy doing that. Took you 7 days. Didn't surprise you had time. Can't go in a betting shop without hearing him playing trap tricks. 6 beat 3, 3 beat 6. Turn on a crappy under 19 football match, you got him, and he's still got time to do all those stats. Unbelievable.
City were minus 280 to win at the Amex last season. What has changed here? Jack's got a hot dog before we get some more words of wisdom from Nigel. Jack, what's your hot dog?
Oh, well, yeah, couldn't quite pull the trigger on anything Brighton orientated. Man City, beware the wounded animal kind of thing in it. But it's not quite right for him at the moment. But I have gone with a slightly positive Brighton angle. And I've gone with Danny Welbeck to score for my hot dog at plus 335. I think that's a big price for that kind of talisman this season so far. He's been pretty impressive. And we know that Man City are having lots and lots of problems at the back. They've had a tough week. Obviously, been to Portugal, got trounced by Sporting Lisbon 4-1. And it's, Brighton have had the week off. So they've had a time to recover and prepare and go for this again. So a tricky game. We know what Brighton are all about. They're not going to be a side that will sit in a low block and look to try and spring on Man City. They'll go and look to go toe-to-toe. It's cost them over the years. They've only won one of, I think it's 14 Premier League games between the two sides. They shipped 40 goals. But that's because they tend to just go for it. And Man City have in the past been able to pick them off. So I would expect Brighton to at least score here, possibly score twice. They've scored multiple goals in 4 of their 5 home games so far this season. So they have got good form for that. That's how they play. We know that. And I think they've got a few injuries defensively as well. So I think they will need to score at least a couple here to get a positive result against this City side. So as far as Welbeck's concerned, he didn't score last week, but assisted, but he'd scored in the 3 games previous to that as well. He's getting plenty of game time, which is the one concern with Welbeck. I think we've seen over the years his injury issues and that, but he's averaging 84 minutes a Premier League game this season. So that's all but pretty much playing the full time, which is actually good. Scored 6 of Brighton's 10 goals. So he scored in 6 of Brighton's 10 games. So he's not, again, we've said this before, not a player that scored 2 or 3 in a game and then missed for a few. He's scoring ones regularly, which is nice as well. So I just feel that he can take advantage of City's really shaky defence at the moment at a nice price. Their main goal scoring threat at plus 300 is, very tasty. So that's my hot dog, plus 335, the official price.
Nigel, what you got for us? Brighton, Man City. City still favourites for the Premier League, plus 150. What's your thoughts on this one?
Crisis, isn't it? Favourites to win the Champions League, favourites to win the FA Cup, favourites to win the Premier League is a crisis. Well, it is, but when you're the high standards that Man City have got, that's one of the markets where there's going to be a lot of people betting Man City, think they're going to come back and bounce back, and the price has got too good. There's a lot of people who were tweeting that Brighton were a bet here plus a half, and but on these prices you can't possibly really. The market is not silly. They catch on very, very quickly to trends here. It just shows you really how Man City have regressed. That one of our bets this week is Danny Welbeck to score against that plus 335. It just shows you really how bad they are at the moment. The trouble is the defense is all over the place. It's creaking. Carl Walker isn't the player he has been for years and years. He seems to have lost a yard of pace. John Stones, I don't know if he's back yet, but he's out there missing him badly. Gavril is a great defender, but he's always more of an attacking threat than defending at the moment. And every time that Man City go to on the pitch now, everyone expects to score against them, and that is in the price here. I think it's around about minus. I think it was minus 250 both teams to score or something like that. It was crazy. But when you look at it here, I mean, Brighton have scored so many goals at home. They just played 8 matches. The last 8 matches that Brighton have played, over 3 goals has cashed in 6 of them. 1 has been a push and 1 has been a loss. And at home, they score goals. I think they scored at least 2 goals in almost every single match they take to the pitch here. But the goal market hasn't really adjusted here compared. It's like you would expect. Man City price is plus 130 compared to minus 280, but the goal line hasn't really affected. And I'm quite surprised by that, because the way that Man City are conceding every time, everyone expects them to concede a goal. So I'm looking at the over 3 goals here at minus 107. That would be my lean here. I think, how can this game not produce goals? I mean, the only downside for people who are betting goals is Haaland is having a terrible spell, his worst spell in English football. He seems to be marked out again, missed the penalty. His confidence seems to be low at the moment. But I think Man City's problems are all off the pitch. I've said it all season. I think that they're still worried about these charges. He can't freshen the squad up because he can't get the players in, and the manager won't put pen to paper until he knows what's the uncertainty of the club. And it's all coming on top for City at the moment everywhere. But they're still favourites to win everything. So we'll see what happens. But over 3 goals, minus 7.
Yeah, I saw Haaland was plus money when the market's open for this, which would have been tempting because he's getting loads and loads of chances, isn't he? But he's now minus money, so there's been a little bit of money for him. But I'm hoping that there's a positive Brighton result here, because I think it's getting to the point where the market's overreacting to this Man City slump, and come after the international break, we might well be able to get on with Manchester City at what is unusually a good price. But I think they'll come back, especially with a couple of extra players back, De Bruyne particularly.
Liverpool Villa is Saturday night action in the UK, 3 p.m. Eastern in the States. Liverpool are a minus 235, Villa plus 525, the draw plus 420 here. Nigel, Liverpool second favourites for the title, plus 175, 6-1 for the Champions League. Villa are now plus 350 for the top 4. What lean have you got for Liverpool Villa?
Well, I think if this was Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, they'd be favourites to win the Premier League title, quite clear favourites. And I think that's the reason why they're not favourites, because everyone doesn't know what to expect from Arne Slot coming down the final runnings. We've seen teams before completely go. Mind games get involved in title runs, and Slot it's all new to him. So that's the reason why they're not favourites. I think if this were Liverpool side under Jurgen Klopp, they would be favourites here. But I'm still not totally convinced by them. As I said earlier, I don't think they've hit full stride yet. I think and I'm not quite sure whether they have got a full stride to get it. So they're a really hard team for me to gauge this season. The one thing I would say is, I know Villa are in a bit of a slump at the moment. They've lost no wins in 4, lost their last 3, and they were embarrassed by Tottenham last week. But minus 230 Liverpool does seem very short to me. It's like a very, very low price. I wouldn't be rushing to bet. I'd look at this match here, and I looked at all the angles on the matches, and everything was pro Liverpool. And the only way you could perhaps find any value from my perspective would be to look for Villa angles, and I couldn't really find any way to get with Villa in any kind of capacity. But I do think the minus 230 is short. So I've gone for just a tried and tested thing with Villa games, as with Liverpool games, especially at Anfield, and I've gone for Salah to score at any time. Plus 125. He's on fire at the moment. He's scoring goals. He scored in 4 of the last 5 matches at Anfield. He's up to number 8 in the all-time Premier League goal scorers. He's only 11 goals behind Thierry Henry. And, he doesn't get the credit I don't think he deserves, Salah, really, when you think about it. He scored 11 goals less than Thierry Henry, who's considered one of the greatest players to ever play in the Premier League. And Salah was just, and he's still priced up at plus 125. He's massive for Liverpool. He's massive for Liverpool in home matches. He's the one player who can just excite, cut inside, hit on the left foot and bang, like he did last time out. He's got a bit of a swagger about him at the moment. And I think for a lot of these strikers, this isn't the vintage Haaland, despite having double figures on the board already. And the golden boot may not be a foregone conclusion that many believe. So I'm going to go for Salah to score plus 125. I do think Liverpool will probably win it, but minus 230, I couldn't bet it. And Villa are showing signs of a bit of tiredness already. And I think Liverpool will probably nick it 1 or 2-0. And if they do get goals at home, it's usually Salah on penalties, goals from anywhere, and a great record at Anfield. So that's my bet. Salah anytime plus 125.
8-1 to be top goal scorer this season. Jack, what you got for us?
Yeah, I probably had about 5 bets that I liked this week, and it was trying to mould them into which were going to be the 3. And Salah was on the short list, but I actually like whoever's going to be playing on the left side for Liverpool. Villa struggle down their right-hand side a lot. Luis Diaz obviously performed there and scored there in midweek, but he's not been playing there in their league games. So it was a bit of a conundrum. I didn't really know what was going to happen out there, but one to keep an eye on, certainly. I've gone and done effectively a same-game parlay on this to get Liverpool on side. I think they have been impressive. They were so impressive, both metrics and on the eye test against Leverkusen midweek. Even a better judge than me. Hard to believe, but Xabi Alonso said, the words he was talking about Liverpool after were quite enlightening, really, to be fair, what he thought of them. So they won this 3-0 last season. They've won 7 of their 8 home games this season. 6 of those 7 wins have come with this bet cash in, which is for Liverpool to win and under 4.5 goals, which brings it at a much better price of minus 118. And I think Villa are feeling a bit leggy. I didn't put it through. Villa have let me down the last 2 weeks. I didn't want it to make it a hat trick. So, I fancy Liverpool to win it with a relatively low scoring game.
Really good Sunday slate for you. Tottenham, Ipswich, we're going to talk about first of all, because we have got Nigel's hot dog and we've got Jack's one unit play, both goal scorer plays, both featuring Spurs players as well, even though Nigel will come to you first. Spurs off the back of a trip to Istanbul, is it tonight? But you still think that at least this particular goal scorer will be firing on all cylinders. Spurs, I should say, minus 480 here, and Ipswich 10-1 shots. Nigel.
Yeah, I think this. Everyone will look at this as a potential banana skin, given Tottenham's form against when they're heavy favourites over the last few seasons. But they're quite good. They're very good at home this season, aren't they? They're 8 home matches, 7 wins in all competitions. They got goals in them. They were brilliant in the second half against Aston Villa last week. Absolutely brilliant. And that's what Tottenham can do. They're very frustrating side. They can be absolutely brilliant and then they can have a second half like they did against Brighton and be all over the place. I think Ipswich will take the game to Tottenham, and I think that will open it up. Ipswich have been involved in some high-scoring matches in recent weeks, and that crazy match at Brentford sticks to mind, and they won at West Ham, and they'll take the game. And I think Tottenham struggle when teams sit back and try to defend, and they try to frustrate them. If Ipswich go at Tottenham, which I expect McKenna to do, then I think this opens it up, and I think Tottenham will ease to victory here. And I've gone for Solanke to score at any time, fresh after 2 goals last weekend. The England squad is being announced now for the final Nations League matches, and I think Harry Kane coming to the end of his career, probably internationally with a new manager as well, Tuchel. We don't know whether Harry Kane will continue. He's getting on a little bit from international football, but I think that Solanke can stake a claim for his replacement, and he's going to be called in the England squad. I think he'll want to go in confident mood, and he's a confidence player. I mean, he didn't get the run when he was at Liverpool. He didn't get the goals. His confidence dropped, and he was very, very second best. But then he went to Bournemouth, and he was exceptional. He's the main man, and I think as each game I see from him now, he's getting better and better. 2 goals, like I say, last week, plus 390 to score the first goal here. I'll take him to score any time, but obviously with the hot dog, you've got to be bigger than 2-1. And I think Solanke at plus 390 is a decent bet. And the other thing for him is that there's no Werner, there's no Timo Werner, he's injured. Richarlison is injured as well. So there's no problem with Solanke. Solanke will start in this match. He will be Tottenham's main threat. And Son is back now as well, which is great for him. Son assisting him, helping him out up front there. He doesn't have to do it all on his own. And I expect a comfortable Tottenham win. And I'm going to go for Solanke to score the first goal at plus 390 as my hot dog this week.
Jack's got an anytime goal scorer for a 1-unit play, Jack.
Yeah, I kind of struggle to find the criteria I like for 1-unit play, and I would normally go with a sort of more mainline market than a goal scorer. But I've gone with Brennan Johnson to score here at plus 132, which I think is a good price for how this game should pan out. All the reasons Nigel said there, as far as Spurs versus Ipswich are concerned. I don't think the fact that Spurs got Galatasaray tonight at time recording is going to be a massive problem. They do generally rotate quite heavily in that fixture, so that shouldn't be a massive issue. Spurs have got the best expected goals in the Premier League, and the great thing is they're backed up by also being the top goal scorers in the Premier League. They score for fun at home. And Ipswich have got the worst defensive stats as well. Their expected goals against is 23.08, which is the worst. They've allowed 45 big chances so far this season, so they're averaging close to 5 big chances per game allowed. And with the talent that Spurs have got on the pitch for this, whoever it happens to be, but we talked about already Son, Solanke and Brennan Johnson, they can't afford to do that, and there'll be goals scored. Now, the reason I've gone for Johnson as my pick here is because of how Ipswich play, and Leif Davis is their most important player. He plays left back, who will be direct opponent to Brennan Johnson, but the reason he's the most important player is not actually in a defensive role, it's for going forward. His assists are phenomenal. He got on the score sheet last week. He assisted the week before. He is their creative outlet. Last season in the Championship, 18 assists he got from that left-back position, which does mean he's obviously very, very advanced, and that means that Brennan Johnson is going to have the opportunity to exploit the space in behind, create those opportunities, and be there looking to finish those chances off. So that's the reason I've gone with it. He's only behind Solanke in the Tottenham side as far as his big chances concerned. He's had 7. Solanke's had 10. Ipswich 1 clean sheet and 21 goals conceded is the second worst record in the league, but they're the worst away from home, conceding 13 goals. So Spurs could potentially have a bit of a field day here, and with their centre-backs out, they might well need to score a few goals to make sure of a victory at those odds, which are a bit scary. But yeah, for us, goals galore, split across the front line. Solanke can go first. Johnson can go anytime. Happy days.
Yeah, that'll do. Cash them both. Forest Newcastle is another 9 a.m. Sunday game. Newcastle are favourites, but only just. Forest obviously had a great season so far, Nigel. But you are going tried and tested here as we tick into November, aren't you?
Yep, under 2.5 goals. Interesting one from the money line, really. Forest, obviously, a side that have been way, way, way better than everyone suggested. Everyone thought they'd be in a relegation battle in Champions League positions now. So is the price now the right price for Nottingham Forest, or is the market overreacting to them? Newcastle have been very, very hit or miss, especially on the road. All their best form is done at home. And, you know, if we went back to this time last season, I would imagine that I haven't got the record on me, but I can imagine Newcastle would probably be around minus 125. They're now plus 160. So has that really market changed? Is that sort of market changed as much as that. I'm not so sure. Forest have been exceptional. The players they've brought in have been a breath of fresh air. They're all gelling. The new, the manager's got them play well, but they're very, very good defensively. Very good. The centre half partnership is exceptional. They're a very, very defensive unit. And Newcastle are very, very well organised as well defensively. Good goalkeeper, good centre half partnership. And these are two managers who are tactically on the button, really. If you look at Eddie Howe against Arsenal last week, he really done a number on Arteta. I thought he was tactically superb. Stopped Arsenal from playing, got the goal, and defensively they're brilliant. 6 of Newcastle's last 7 matches have been under 2.5 goals. Nottingham Forest at home. Obviously, last week they won 3-0 against West Ham, a poor West Ham performance. But prior to that, it was 5 from 5 under 2.5 goals. So 5 of their 6 matches this season have been under 2.5 goals. This is 2 very, very evenly matched sides from the betting, as you can see. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of money come from Newcastle, and this probably start a genuine 50-50 call around about plus 170 both sides. When there is plus 170 both sides, I always think the unders and the draw represent the value if the bookies can't split them or Bet Rivers can't split them. And we've also got a little bit of a form guide to go by this season. They both met in the League Cup and it was a 1-1 draw. So 2 good managers, 2 good defensive units, 2 teams that I think will pay the utmost respect. Forest has become an exceptionally hard place to go now in the Premier League and win. And they're a side that are really on the up. But this is a test for them against the Newcastle side that are underperforming. And I expect this to be tight. So under 2.5 goals, minus 114 is my 1 unit pick this week.
Yeah, and incidentally, Nigel's pretty much right. Plus 120, Newcastle were to win this game last season. Very quickly, lean from you on this one, Jack.
Yeah, I like that bet a lot. Forest have got the joint best defensive record, haven't they, in the league at home alongside Liverpool. This is a tale of 2 strikers for me. Who's going to get the better, Chris Wood or Isaac? Both have been really responsible for their team's goals recently. Tough one to call. I think Forest might nick it. I think they might just ride the momentum into the international break, and we'll see where it goes from there. As I said, Newcastle are a bit shaky on the road, so I think with that kind of form taking them in at the moment, Forest, I think they might nick this, but this is like a 1-0 for me, probably either way, or 1-1 all square with both those 2 guys probably getting the goals as it's going at the moment. But yeah, I'll edge for a lean. I wanted something plus money, so I've gone for Forest at plus 185.
Let's get some quick picks on the United-Leicester game as well here. Nigel, you're at first. Obviously, that League Cup fixture probably meaningless. 5-2 United win. Different teams, of course. What you got for us for the game at Old Trafford Sunday, 9 a.m?
I think this is a very, very tricky match. This, really, really tricky match. Leicester have scored in every single game in the Premier League this season. But then when you look, I thought, well, what we do is we bet Leicester to score a goal over a half a goal. I was expecting it to be around about, I don't know, minus 125. I thought that'd be minus 210 Leicester to score in this match. I mean, that sums it up, really, the state of Manchester United. The problem here is everyone's going to look at this game and think, well, Leicester going to score, Man United going to score. First of all, when you look at this match, you think this is definitely an over match. When you break it down, it's more unders. It's probably one of the clearest unders you're ever going to see. But what Man United are we going to see? We're seeing a much more entertaining United under Van Nistelrooy. Obviously, they want to impress the new boss coming in. United only scored 4 goals at home this season. That's the same as Southampton and Ipswich. Only Palace has scored less. That's just awful form, relegation form. I do think Man United will win it. They are heavy favourites to win it. I do think Leicester are a poor side. I think Leicester are a side that are going to come backwards on the table. You would expect goals, but hard match to call. And the only way I thought I would play it to get a little bit of value for Manchester United or get a bigger price than Man United is to back Man United half-time, full-time. So Man United to be leading at half-time, Man United to be leading at full-time. It's just minus 106, which is a lot better than what you would get on Man United just to win the match, which is minus 275. So Man United half-time, full-time was my only angle, but really tough one to call
that. Jack, you like Leicester to cover a handicap?
Yeah, I've took that as plus a 1.5, isn't it? So minus 125 it is for the lean. I just thought United were bang average last week, got a penalty to get the goal. Their issues are the fact they create plenty of chances, but just can't convert. And they've got the worst conversion rate in the whole Premier League, which is a real sorry state of affairs for the money that's been thrown at it. They've also got another tough or a very important European game Thursday night with Leicester having the week to prepare. So I think they'll get plenty of chances against Leicester, but will they take them? When you look at their results this season, only 2 league wins in 5, both by a single goal. Leicester, they're away. It was only Arsenal where they did lose by more than by 2 or more goals, and that was Arsenal 90+4, 90+9. So it was right at the death they nicked it. So I think they can keep it tight enough that we could potentially get a win here on a +1.5 Asian handicap. So even by a goal loss, we'd still cash.
Big game of the weekend is on Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. It is at Stamford Bridge. It's the London derby. Chelsea take on Arsenal. Arsenal are the favourites, +148. Only a little bit bigger than what they were last year for this fixture, incidentally. Chelsea +185, the draw +240. We've got our same game parlay in this. Jack's on duty this week. You've got 3 elements for your same game parlay. Jack, talk us through the play for the Chelsea-Arsenal game.
Yeah, I wanted to get a bit of juice in this, so I've gone with my first part of it is Chelsea to win. I just think Arsenal are in a bit of a bad state of play at the moment. That goes without saying. The injuries and suspensions that they've had have bit them hard. Declan Rice, the latest one, obviously to be missing out. I think they can't wait for the international break to come. I say that, and hopefully they can get their players back. Obviously, not too many then going away on international duty and picking up more injuries, but that's where they're at the moment. I think they'd probably take a draw in this one and move on. Although they're slipping already a little bit of alarmingly off the pace at the top of the table. But a defeat here would be really, really painful. A really tough night for them in Milan against Inter Milan, which they ended up obviously lost, but they were knocking at the door. So they put a lot of energy and a lot of effort into that. And I think defensively, they're just looking a bit shaky at the minute because they've had to patchwork it together. And we know that Chelsea can really cause teams problems on their day with what they've got. So I've gone for the Chelsea win as the first part of that. Nicholas Jackson is the second part, just to have a shot on target, which he's done in all 11 of his Chelsea appearances so far this season. And then the final selection is for Chelsea to have over 5.5 corners. They have done so in their last 3 games at home, 8 against Brighton, 11 against Forest and 7 against Newcastle. They average 6.8, so the average is good enough to clear what we need here. Arsenal, a bit mixed, but the 3 in the middle catch the eye. They've conceded 7, 8 and 7 against Spurs, Man City and Bournemouth. So that kind of fits in well. Their average conceded is exactly 6. So again, that fits in well. Put those all together and you get an odds of +850 for our same game parlay this week.
Brilliant stuff. That's how Jack sees the SGP. Nigel, your thoughts on Chelsea Arsenal? Do Arsenal need to win this one? Can they afford to drop any more points? They're 7 points behind the league leaders.
Well, I mean, they can't afford to. They can't lose it. They just can't lose it. I mean, because that'd be like 3 or 4 matches on the spin that they've lost there. Then suddenly the alarm bells will be ringing. I think the last few matches are really highlighting that Arsenal desperately need a striker. I mean, everyone's been saying it for ages, but they desperately need a striker. They're not top enough not good enough to win titles without a striker. But anyway, it is what it is. I've been impressed by Chelsea this season. I thought they were impressive against Manchester United. I thought they were very, very impressive in the defeat against Liverpool. And this is a real tough ask. The Chelsea fans will be really up for this. Chelsea, the side will be up for this. But I think this match really comes down to team news. There's a lot of doubts about players, a lot of injuries about players. Havertz has got a knock. He probably will play, but he's got a knock. Declan Rice didn't travel. You've got Odegaard, who's coming back, but I think he's being rushed back because I think he's being rushed back to try to get something out of him, and I think that's a dangerous ploy. I think he might be back a little bit too early. I mean, I'm not the physio at the Emirates, but I just think that every report that he was going to be out for a lot longer than this, and now he's back when you're struggling. So that looks a hint of desperation. He threw him on against Inter Milan as well, which again I just thought, if this guy could get a knock here again, it could all go terribly wrong. The other thing for Chelsea is Cole Palmer hasn't trained this week. He's and they reckon he'll be fit, but he's got a knock as well. So I think the team losing this match is going to be absolutely crucial. And I think they're key players. All those players are key players that will have an influx, a massive influence on the outright, on the money line. So with that in mind, I'm going to play it completely safe, and my lean would be for the draw at +245. I think both sides would take a draw now if they offered to it week before the champions, the international break. Don't lose for Arsenal. Chelsea keep themselves in the title mix as well of a draw here, and I think in a London derby, 2 evenly matched sides +245, the draw would be my lean as we stand now. But there could be some very, very key team news here, which will make these markets change very, very quickly. So on Thursday morning or afternoon when we're recording this, I think that it'd be quite difficult to have a confident selection on the money line or the way the match is going out without seeing what the developments are on the injury tables rather than the anything else in the next 48 hours or so.
Yeah, find out over the course of the weekend, running up to kick-off. Teams usually out an hour and a quarter this season before the match starts. Brilliant stuff, Nigel, Jack. Thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We'll keep everyone updated via our X feeds. We've got the boys' P&L on screen for you as per usual. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We're going to be back in a fortnight's time. Picks, plays, hot dogs, same game parlays. We've got the live show, of course, 11 a.m. Eastern every midweek day. The Betting Weekly newsletter is up and running as well. Plenty of content from everyone. Follow us at Because We Win. Comments on the YouTube channel have been brilliant this season. Keep them coming. Who do you fancy to win the league? Top four? Who's going to regress? Who's going to have a bit of an uptick over the course of the season? Let us know. From all of us for now, though, it is goodbye.